following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Handoff, Elliott plowing to the goal line. Barry, sacked by Lord. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Heckman Harrison, Rob Phillips, and Kyle Yeomans.
You know, it's only been about 5 days or so, but it is oh so good to be back. And it's been longer. It's been a full week since we've had the Talkin Cowboys crew back together again.
Hey.
How about that? Isaiah Stanback,
And we
Heckman
back.
Harrison,
And we back.
Rob Phillips, Kyle Yeomans. We're all back and we're ready. We're well rested. We're ready for the rest of the season. Exactly. Yeah, let's go. It's not even a Say It With Your Chest Friday yet. It's a Say It With Your Chest Monday again here on Talkin'
It's back
Cowboys.
in the trust tree. I missed you guys.
Back in the trust tree.
I missed you guys. I missed you guys so
Aw.
much.
Imagine,
Oh my God.
imagine that. Rob and Heckman are the ones that said we miss people, and then Isaiah's just sitting there smiling. He didn't miss any of the smoke.
I did miss you guys, man. I miss you guys. It's been too long. It's been too long. It's kind of like, like we used to go on dates all the time, and now we're just, now we had a little hiatus, and now we're back, and so it feels kind of good to be back with the crew.
Yeah, it's been a whole 6 days. I mean, that's like a middle school thing. Like, no, you get off the phone. No, you get off the phone.
That's how you feel.
That's kind of what it felt like whenever we popped back on the call today, and we were like, goodness gracious, this feels good. Like, it just feels right, and we're ready to roll for another week of Talkin' Cowboys. And that's the fun thing, is we're back for the rest of the year this way. No more switch-ups. It was definitely fun. We had Nate Newton and Nick Eatman specifically on this show, and then, of course, our guys were outside. What are you laughing at, Heckman? Was there something that happened on that show?
Now, here's the thing. You are used to me and Isaiah getting into it.
Yeah.
And you were not ready. I could tell the look on your face, Kyle, when Nick and Nate got into it.
Yep.
You was just like, oh my God, well, how do I get this show back on the rails?
He was ready on Wednesday because he brought props. But on Tuesday, he was not ready.
You're exactly right. I had a feeling that was going to happen because listen, a little pull back of the curtain here. Nick actually he at one point early before the show, he kind of looked at me and said, hey, bring up moral victories. And I was like, okay, I'll bring it up. I was like, why? And he was like, just trust me, just bring it up.
Oh my
and I was
God.
like, okay, I feel like something's coming here. And so I brought it up, and of course, insanity ensued, and it went back and forth the rest of the show, and even spilling over into Wednesday. So I was more prepared on Wednesday, but it was a blast and a ton of fun with both those guys, and I'm sure you guys had a ton of fun on your various shows as well. But there's nothing like the Talkin Cowboys crew. I'll just tell you that right now. There's nothing.
We appreciate you taking us off of suspension. We recognize that you kicked us out of the cool club. I mean, you're inviting us back, so we're grateful.
Is that right?
Yeah, off the commissioner's exempt list. Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome, but I doubt that's even remotely close to my pay grade. I don't think that's even close to the amount.
I mean, for Heck and Rob P, I'm not sure if you guys remember, but when we asked why is it that you get to stay, Kyle, you said because I'm the host. I said, oh, excuse me.
And he said it with his chest.
It let us know where we were in the pecking order. So thank you very much.
Order. Oh my goodness. Well, if we want to talk about pecking order, I got a fun one for you to start off the day, and I want to talk about specifically a stat that just blows my mind at the moment, and it's the fact that we are now into Week 11. So going into Week 11 of the 2020 NFL season, the division that the Cowboys are in, the NFC East, has a combined 11 wins. 11 wins going into Week 11. Because of what happened over the bye week. The Cowboys didn't lose, which is great. That's the first win of the bye week. The second win of the bye week is that Washington lost. The third win of the bye week is the fact that the Giants beat the Eagles. And so now you've got, once again, a week where you're going up against a good Minnesota team, but you're still a game and a half out of first place in the NFC East, and it still seems like everyone else is reeling, Rob. Did you get a chance to watch any of those games? What is your thought on the NFC East right now? Because it's just kind of a dumpster fire at the moment.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There is a chance. For as much as people don't want to hear it, there is a chance.
I think if you're a fan, like it's the battle. I call it the battle of the gyms. You got Jim Carrey who's saying there's a chance, and then you got the Jim Mora video from back in the day with the Colts, where it's the whole playoffs thing. Like playoffs, seriously, playoffs. Yeah. I think that's what you've got to weigh if you're a fan. And I think if I'm a fan, I'm pulling for my team to always win games and try to get into the playoffs and try to make something of your season. But I think there's obviously a fan segment out there, because we see it on Twitter all the time, hashtag Team Tank and all that kind of stuff, because they don't see this season ending with a championship because of all the injuries and no Dak and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, it is right there. It was such a weird day, like you said, because they dropped to last place, but in a way they closed the gap just by sitting on their couch. So that's 2020 for you, and that's the 2020 NFC East for you.
And actually,
Rob is so nice, man.
Yeah, Rob is being very nice.
He is. I mean, and talk about moral victories. There we are right there with all of the losses in the NFC East. But Rob came up short of just calling the NFC East the complete dumpster fire, and that's what we need to go with it. It's bad. And I had my popcorn ready, getting ready to watch the Giants and Eagles game, and had the rug snatched from under me. We'll talk about that with Chris Beam a little bit later. But I did get a chance to see the game. Man, the Eagles they suck. They are bad. They're as bad as we saw them last when we had Ben DiNucci. And, man, if we had an opportunity to just have any type of put any drives together or anything, like, we would have beat those guys easily. That's just my feeling on how bad they are. But the NFC East is just there. And so every time, we try and get out, they pull us back in. You start to see those little percentages start to add up, and you say to yourself, oh, my God, we have a chance. And even with all of the injuries that we have, if you just look at the horizon, clearly there is a pathway to actually getting into the playoffs.
Crazy.
We said it a long time ago. At least I know I said it a while back. It doesn't matter how you get into playoffs. It doesn't matter how ugly it is. But as long as you get in there, everything resets, and you're now in a 4-game season. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. So it can look as ugly as it wants to, but as long as these guys have opportunity, they always have a chance to turn it on and start playing better ball. We've recognized over the past few games, they have been playing better ball, right? Mm-hmm. It's gotten a little bit better. I think that the actual bye week, everybody thinks it came at a good time. I think it came at a bad time because they were building momentum. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're playing better. So we'll see how these guys bounce back against another great opponent. But I think we'll see, man. There's a chance. There's a chance, and that's all we got to ask for in this league. Whether you're freaking 9-0 or you're 2-7, doesn't really matter. As long as you got a chance to win your division, that's what the goal is. The first goal that you set forth in it when you go to camp.
Now, and I actually gave the division a little bit too much credit. They actually only have 10 combined wins through 10 weeks of the season. So they're averaging one win per week out of 4 teams. That's pretty darn bad. That's pretty awful. So, but Isaiah, I wanted to kind of turn that back around on you here. And as a player in a bye week, what is it like coming back from a bye week? Because, I mean, of course, like you said, it kills momentum from one standpoint, but you rest up in other standpoints. And it kind of, you have that balance back and forth. How tough is it to balance, and where does it start from a player's standpoint?
Yeah, it really depends on the players. I would imagine with this, hopefully with the leadership from Mike McCarthy, I would assume that he had probably made all his guys aware that he didn't want them to leave town. That would have been my advice if I was him. I would want guys to stay close. I would want guys, even though it's a bye week off of your legs and off of your body, so much so versus actually just like leaving. Like, we have to be engaged. We're in the thick of these things. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're hitting your bye week and you're 9-0, guess what, guys? Go kick it for 4 days. Go hang out, have a good time, come back, be ready to roll. But when you're 2-7, fellas, I need you guys in the facility once a day, watching film, or at least hopping onto your tablet and watching film and staying engaged, because we can't afford at any point in time right now to slack off.
I think that what you just said, Isaiah, is right on cue with what this team needs. But at the same time, if coaches having to tell them that, especially where they are, that would kind of be disheartening. You're 2-7. You're starting to catch some type of rhythm, but guys have to stay in their playbooks. And for me, over the bye week, I had an opportunity to look over all the games again and just looking at the first quarter of the season and just seeing how in disarray we were with our whole scheme. And guys not, especially on defense, guys just not understanding what was going on. You're still, even up until this day, seeing guys trying to get lined up. And I think those last minute trying to get aligned is allowing for gaping holes in our defense. Offensively, the offensive line has just not been healthy. So these guys have got to can see that if by being healthy, playing together, and just getting better as a team, it's going to help the second half of this season be a success.
Yeah, I didn't go back and watch the games like you did, Heck, but I can only imagine the difference defensively, like what it looked like compared to the last couple of games, because it has been an improvement. To your point, Isaiah, I'd be surprised if anybody left town just because of the COVID stuff. I think that's a message across the league, trying to ensure don't leave town, stay, bubble up the best you can, and try to get through this season. And especially with the Cowboys being in that intensive protocol last week as a precaution, the goal, I think, is to get back today and get back into meetings. And I think we're going to hear from Mike McCarthy later this afternoon for his press conference. So we'll see kind of where they are. But that's the whole other dynamic with this season. It's a bye week, and probably the only thing you can do, or the best thing you can do, is just stay home and rest and try to heal up if you've been banged up.
Now, we just learned that Heckman did his homework over the bye week. I don't know how much homework we all did. I put my phone away. I said, I'm not going to get on Twitter. I'm not going to watch a ton of football. I watched the NFC East games, but that was about it. I didn't do any film or anything this past week. But Heckman, when you were going back...
You guys are short-timers, man.
Oh, whatever.
Go ahead.
Whatever. So, Heckman, I do want to ask, though, when you went back and you watched these games, was there specifics that stuck out to you that kind of either caught your eye or raised questions in terms of not only the growth, but maybe even decay of some players whenever it comes from week 1 to week 9 of the year?
Man, you just had so many problems at the beginning of the season. I mean, if you could just categorize the first 4 games, it was like an amusement park. You didn't know what you were going to get. Some of the coaching decisions, things like that. It was really funny, man. The punts, the fake punts, and just... It was comedy, man, our first 4 games. And as Cowboy fans, I'm sure, man, that roller coaster ride is not fun. But then over the next couple of games, it was just disaster. Defensively, guys just couldn't get a line. And with Dontari Poe, man, it never clicked for him. And he was a lot of the problems that we were having in the middle of our defense, him just getting dug out of there. And that's why those teams could just run on us at will. They're just safety-wise. I know we started off the season talking about what we needed, bringing guys in from off the street. Safety-wise, man, we don't have a lot. I mean, Xavier Woods, bless his heart, I think he's playing to the best of his potential. But it's just he's leaving a lot to be desired at the safety position, and we just haven't found that balance there. There are a lot of guys that need to be looked at, and I mean a lot of guys that are still on the roster that we need to talk about and see if they're going to be here next year, because we're not getting effort out of guys that we're actually paying good money to be here. So those are the things that I want to see over the second half of the season, just how those guys start to perform.
Well, whenever it comes to the players that are going to be here next year, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, but now, of course, with especially the defense, and we saw the addition via subtraction with Dontari Poe, and we've seen a little bit of a shift in the thinking of the interior of that defensive line over the last 2 weeks, but also in the secondary, there's guys playing for their jobs. And I think Isaiah said this last week where it came to the point of Trayvon Diggs is now out for 4 to 6 weeks with his ankle injury or his foot injury. Now you're starting to find out who's going to play alongside Trayvon Diggs next year in the secondary, whether it's the safety position or the corner opposite of them. Anthony Brown's the only one that's under contract past this season. So we've got a lot to talk about. When we come back here on Talkin Cowboys, we're actually going to address some of those issues and address some of those players back and forth in a game I like to call groove on or move on. We're going to take some of these guys that are contract players, and we're going to play GM on whether or not we want them to be back based on the first part of the season when we return here on Talkin Cowboys.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
Since 1865, Stetson hats are American-made with pride right here in Texas. And Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Want to show your Texas and team pride too? You can. By purchasing your own Stetson, you can look just like how the flag guys do on field at every home game. Stetson hats, the official crown of all self-respecting Cowboys, and your favorite football team.
Get yours today at shop.dallascowboys.com or at stetson.com.
I'm Jay Novacek, former tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Back in the day, I was the guy who always got the tough yards, and that's why I run with John Deere today. In fact, I have a John Deere 3025E tractor that can handle any yard work I need to do, even the tough yards way out back. So if you have 1 acre or 1,000, John Deere has the equipment that's just right for you. Visit a John Deere dealer today and run with us. We are the official tractor provider of your Dallas Cowboys.
Dear, it's 1908. Don't you think we should get electricity?
And stop using candles to see at night.
It's just electricity lights up the room fast. It's more reliable than candles blowing out, and people seem to love it nationwide.
Well, candles are...
Dear, did you just run into the wall?
Nope. May I have a new candle, please?
Historically, switching to new technology is a no-brainer. Today, it's AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure, and nationwide. Switch to AT&T 5G. It's not complicated. 5G requires compatible plan. May not be in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
It's the second segment here of Talkin Cowboys here on this beautiful Monday morning from Frisco. Kyle Yeomans, Heckman Harrison, the great Rob Phillips, and our resident Super Bowl champion, Isaiah Stanback. Glad you're with us here from the SWBC Mortgage Studios. And, man, it's like I said earlier, it's very, very good to be back with you boys and talking some Cowboys football after the bye week. Hope everybody had a nice and rested bye week and they're ready to get after it this week as the Minnesota Vikings are up next on the schedule. So I teased this going into the break, but there's a couple of players, to say the least, probably not as much as last year. I think last year we saw more roster turnover, or at least potential roster turnover, than we are going to see this offseason. But I kind of wanted to get gauge your feelings on some guys through the first half of the season, or at least up until the bye week, over half of the season now. And I wanted to hear whether or not you would keep these guys around if you were the GM. We're calling it groove on or move on in terms of the players that you have to deal with. And I've got one of two ways we can do this, and I'll let you guys decide this on air. We could either pick a specific player and debate about it for each person, or I could run down the list of available, or I guess unrestricted free agents going into the 2021 offseason. Which one?
Throw
do
it
you
out there,
do?
Kyle.
You want me to throw it out there?
Throw it
and
out
we'll
there,
talk
Kyle.
about them?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is if the money is right, do we even want them on our team? Is ultimately what we're going to talk about here in terms of these guys moving into 2021. And Rob, you said it last week very well, I thought, based off of what Stephen Jones said and based off of what Jerry said, and basically running it back from a Cowboys perspective. And we're going to try and figure out who we're going to run it back with. I'm going to start on the offensive line. Joe Looney. You think Joe Looney could be a valuable piece to this franchise moving forward at the center position? He is an unrestricted free agent. We'll start with you, Isaiah.
I'm keeping him only if he's willing to move to guard.
You're still on that guard?
I'm on if he's playing guard.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm moving on. And I'm moving on because I want to develop McGovern. I think he gave you a little bit of something, a glimpse. And Biotish is, we know what we're getting with Biotish. He's the next guy up, and he's a long lineage of great centers and offensive linemen that are coming from Wisconsin. So I'm all in.
Rob?
I'm grooving on Jumbo. I think now, Isaiah, are you saying like maybe because you'd like to move one of the guards out to tackle potentially, like a Connor Williams? Is that kind of, are you thinking, or just in terms of that's a better spot for Joe? Is the
I think it's a better spot for him.
Yeah.
I don't think Connor Williams is our guard. I don't think he can do that. So yeah, I like Looney at guard. I mean, obviously, give him a whole offseason of working at it. I like his size. I like his experience there. You put him on, next to Biadasz. I like that combination there.
I like him in his role that he's going to be in. Well, he would have been in if Tyler had gotten hurt. Yeah, where he's your backup center, and like Isaiah said, he could help you really at either guard spot. He hasn't played guard in a while, really, but I think that's the kind of valuable veteran depth, like you said, Kyle, depending on the price, that I think can help your offensive line for sure moving forward.
And I think you're going to be able to get him back for a reasonable contract. I think it's definitely doable to get Joe Looney back, but I agree, it needs to be a depth piece. If he's coming back to be a starter, then that means something's wrong on your offensive line. That means either you had somebody leave that you weren't expecting to leave, or you didn't necessarily get the draft pick you wanted. So I think ultimately if Joe Looney's coming back to be a starter, you're in a little bit of trouble. Okay, so moving on. There's not a ton of unrestricted free agents that I don't see, or that I see on the offensive side of the football. Or Cam Irving's another one, but we'll leave that where it's at. But let's go to the defensive side, and this is where the majority of them are. We're going to start with Tyrone Crawford, Heckma. This is a guy who's been around forever. Are you moving on or grooving on?
Man, and this is tough for me to say because I like Tyrone, man. He's given us a lot. He's been a leader on and off the field, but I'm moving on. I think in the new scheme, he doesn't fit. He's not able to make the plays, or I don't know how healthy he is from the hip surgery also. So all things being considered, I think for the money that we're paying him, we could get more out of that position. So I'm moving on.
Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a situation for Tyrone where we'll see where he's at after the season, because I know, like Heckman mentioned it, the double hip surgery was something I think he had to weigh whether he wanted to fight through that, and I think he talked to us earlier in the season about how, it's been a battle trying to battle through this, and he hasn't been on the injury report. He hasn't been limited going through, but, we'll see, at his age and the injuries he's had, he's got to make a decision too on where he's at in his career going forward. I did think he gave him something in the pass rush last week in that kind of, they had a 4-man line where he's rushing from the in spot, and I think they had Tank and Alden inside. Yep. So and with Gregory on the other spot outside, that's a package that's working for him. So we'll see. We'll see how these last 7 games go.
I think they better call Tyrone.
What are they going to do with him?
And tell him to go get his stuff. He gone. You got to get him up out of here.
Man.
He's making a lot of money, man. He's making a lot of money. And, I think you got some young goons out there that want to play some ball. And, plus you got the draft. So I think you just got to move on for it. You tell him thank you, pat him on the butt like Jason Garrett, huh? All right. And then you tell him go on and wrap up his career, man. But he's done well for the organization. I know everybody's grateful for it, but it's time to shut it down, player.
So, and he's making $9.1 million at the moment. He's already 30 plus years old, and I wanted to ask the question though: does it make a big difference the fact that he has been playing better over the last couple games? Because I don't even think it was just this past week. I thought he played maybe his best 2 games of the year in a row. He played against Philly decently well, and then he figured out how to play better than that game against Pittsburgh in Week 9. So, does it change your mind at all, Isaiah?
I'm not moving on because of his lack of production. I'm moving on just simply because it's just time to move on. He's been through a lot, and it's like the stock market, right? You're riding it high. At some point in time it's going to drop. So you want to shake it before it drops.
Man, I will say he's one of my favorite guys, not just in the locker room, but also I know he's made a lot of money, but he has done a job that is not recognized enough over the years in terms of like he's had to play wherever he's needed. He's never really been able to settle in one spot, and that's a credit to him for being willing to play. Hey, I'm kind of slimmed down for this position, maybe on the edge, but they need me inside. Okay, I'm going to take a pounding in there. He's kind of doing. He's always been the good soldier.
I like that, and I think that's something that's undervalued with Tyrone Crawford as a whole, and it's been that way throughout his career. But I'm going to move to a spot next to Tyrone, and you just mentioned the stock market, Isaiah. You mentioned selling high, buying low. You want to make sure and kind of ride that stock market wave. Where's the stock for Aldon Smith at the moment in terms of move on or groove on? Are you going to buy high on him?
Oh, we grooving. I'm sorry.
You're grooving no matter what.
I'm grooving for a nice little 2-year contract. Give me Aldon Smith for 2 years, please.
Okay.
Heckman? Yeah, that's a no-brainer. I'm grooving with Aldon Smith, man. He's given us everything. And you talk about a guy that 4.5 years of not playing football that has come back and given us everything, and that's been Aldon Smith, man. So I'm definitely grooving.
I'm grooving depending on the price. I keep saying that, but I'm just thinking about Robert Quinn last year, and the market for him was really higher than maybe the Cowboys, definitely higher than the Cowboys had hoped. And yeah, Aldon's he got off to a really hot start, and I think he still leads them in sacks. They wouldn't have traded, they wouldn't have resisted trade offers if they didn't hope to get him back in the offseason. But I do wonder, they're going to be up against it with the cap, and they've got other decisions to make. We'll get into it. So if it gets into a bidding war, potentially, if he hits the market first, then they might have to move on. But
what's your price, Rob P? What's your price? What are you willing to pay him?
Well, I'm with you. I mean, if it's like a 2-year deal and it's I don't know what the signing bonus would be. If it's a deal like Robert Quinn where he's getting, $10-12 million a year, I just don't know if you can do that,
But so you're willing to pay Crawford $9 a year, but not Aldon Smith $9 a year?
Well, Crawford's not going to be.
He's not going to make that $9 a year.
That's a renegotiating thing. Yeah,
there's no way he makes that $9.
It's not going to be the same salary.
Just wondering.
I know where you're going.
Remind me never to go shopping with Rob. It's like, man, that would be really cool, but for the price, I don't know. I just don't.
You know what it is? It's all these damn years with Mickey on the podcast, because it's like everything is like, well, how much is it going to be? What's the how much does it cost?
How much does it actually cost?
It's like shopping with your dad.
There's a reason that is not wanted so much.
Right.
To be honest with you, you should probably go shopping with Rob, man. It'd probably help your style out.
That's probably true. You're probably right. Rob's got more drip than I have.
He's got the drip today. Look at that jacket.
Look at this jacket. It's the Cowboys Pro Shop. Heckman's just jealous because I can actually unbutton one of my top buttons on my polo. And let the chest
oh my God!
A little bit.
What? Oh Lord.
So, moving on before we continue on this. So, before we keep going here, this is a restricted free agent. How about Antoine Woods, Heckman? Would you keep Antoine around? This is tough.
Hang on a second.
Speaking of restricted.
Damn. That's how I know y'all are friends, because we have not been doing this show long enough.
Oh, God.
Besides y'all's friendship outside of this show. That was cold.
I love Heckman. That's
good. Let him live, man.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Antoine Woods, you were asking
Antoine Woods. He's a restricted free agent, so money at this point is not really an option. Or I guess it's not a problem.
I really have been up and down on Antoine Woods, but after Dontari Poe leaving and just seeing the way that he's filled in, I think there's something to be said about the job that he's doing. And also just look, man, we're going to be looking at him for the next 7 games. So let's see how he performs. And man, I was really, protecting the star, what he did with Juju, letting him know, hey, don't you walk to that star. He's probably one of my favorites right there, right now. So, I mean, it'd be hard to say anything bad about Antoine Woods.
And I'm glad you brought that up.
Grooving.
I'm glad you brought that up, Heckman. Does that change a lot of what you thought about Antoine Woods specifically as a player? The fact that he's thinking about that and he wants to be here, and that's exactly what we've kind of been calling for on this defense.
Yeah. No, I mean, come on, man. When you going back and looking at the other games, I mean, guys have definitely been trying to shame us and bully us. And, the Pittsburgh Steelers were just trying to continue that. And finally, you see a game where guys are just saying, nah, this is just not going to happen. And it's damn sure not going to happen at AT&T Stadium. So, just taking pride in what you do and taking pride in your football team is one. So, I mean, that just lets me know that Antoine Woods is all in on making sure that he protects the brand. And that's, the Cowboys. So I'm with him.
Man, he's from the West Coast. He's about that life, Heck. So he wasn't gonna let that happen. But I'm a ride with him because we got him for a discounted double check right now. So I think we can bring him back.
Yeah, I agree. Mike Nolan said last week that he's kind of emerged as a leader for those guys inside. What he's trying to, patch together this defensive line interior-wise with some of the injuries they've had and obviously moving on from Poe. So I would say, I talked to him in the offseason. I know he dealt with some injuries last year, had the knee, had a hip deal, and that was kind of frustrating for him. But I think he's come in and he's given him something, especially those last 2 weeks.
I think that's a huge credit to Antoine, not only the protecting of the star, because I thought that was fantastic, and Nick Eatman wrote a really nice piece about it on DallasCowboys.com as well, and also not to mention, Juju was his college teammate. I mean, they both were USC guys, and they were teammates at USC. Yeah. And so not only did he say, okay, throw the college allegiance aside, I'm still protecting the star here. I thought that was really cool. But also not to mention, when we were at training camp, Rob, it almost looked like Antoine Woods was the odd man out in terms of the interior of the defensive line whenever we had Poe come in and you had Gerald McCoy come in, and it looked like they were building something new. It almost looked as if Woods was going to be the last man standing, or at least the last man in the line, because you wanted to keep Tristan Hill, you wanted to keep Neville Gallimore, and then where's Antoine Woods? Well, he not only stuck around, but he's played better and he's continued to improve. And like you said a moment ago, he's stepped up as a leader. Yeah, I would groove on with him 100%. I think he's somebody that's a little, like kind of what we said earlier, a little underrated in terms of what he does and what he brings, but it's something this defense absolutely needs in the middle of it, for sure.
The other thing with him is he was an exclusive rights free agent, and he didn't sign his tender until right before training camp, I think. And he wanted it. He wanted an extension. He has said that, and he didn't get it, and I think he was pretty motivated by it. So we'll see what they do in the offseason. I mean, when they're at full strength, obviously they're excited about Tristan Hill, they're excited about Neville Gallimore, but there's obviously going to be rotation in there, and a spot for a rotation next year.
I like it. Okay, let's move on to the secondary, and these are three of the bigger unrestricted free agent names coming up in this offseason. We're going to start at the corner spot. Jordan Lewis. What have you guys thought about him this year? Would you move on or groove on, Rob?
Man, this is tough. I love Jordan, man. He's I would say I'm going to cop out. I'm going to say we're going to find out the last 7 games, and I will say when you're talking about a trio of DBs that are the 17 draft pick guys that are all up, Cheeto, Xavier, and Jordan, I don't expect all 3 to be back. I mean, I think they're going to make some changes, but we'll see. I mean, they haven't made enough plays on the ball this year. Let's be honest. I mean, I think going forward, they've got to be able to get more of that ball hawking at the cornerback position, kind of what we've seen Trayvon Diggs do a little bit. Yeah. So I do think in his role as a slot guy, and he's going to get to play more now, we'll see. But they've got to be able to be more active, getting hands on balls, being more productive in that regard.
Isaiah?
Yeah, the spotlight's going to be on J. Lou and Owuzie, and so these guys are going to have to make some plays because they came into this year knowing that they had to have big years. I've been disappointed in J. Lou, man. I think that he's given up a lot, even when he was playing in the interior. He's just given up a lot of plays. So I'm moving on. It's tough to say, but I'm moving on.
Isaiah?
I like J. Lou, man. I like his fight, but at $133,000 a game, I gotta roll on.
Okay, so
he broke that. Broke that man down.
Kind of going. Yeah, he did. He broke that contract down pretty quick, didn't he? How about that math? That's the UW. That's UW coming out. The quick math.
I have a large computer screen. I can multitask.
There you go. I like it.
You got Spotrack up there.
Now, Rob, I kind of want to go based off of what you were saying a moment ago, and it actually adds to what Heckman said too. But you talked about plays on the ball. And with Jordan Lewis, this is a guy who, at least the last couple years, has been the big play guy. Multi-sacks, multi-interceptions. He's always been around the ball, even in limited snaps. Well, this is the first year he's really had an abundance of snaps, or at least it seems like he's had an abundance of snaps, but we haven't seen that same sort of production. You mentioned Trayvon Diggs, and with him now being out, is it up to Jordan Lewis to be that ball-hawking type of player and somebody that's going to have to not only make interceptions, but find a way to get a sack or two in the last couple games of the year?
Oh, absolutely. But that's why I've said I think this last 7 games is a really important evaluation. If your defense can continue doing what they've done the last couple weeks, where you're playing complementary, you're getting a push up front, your linebackers are playing a little better. I think you're going to see opportunities for the corners to play better too, if that makes sense. So I think they've just been on their heels the entire year. Yeah. You know, they've been playing from behind, and so the play action comes into play and all those things. So I think, but to answer your question, absolutely. I mean, they need more of that from their DBs. And Trayvon, despite his mistakes, and we've talked about that's got to improve. Yeah. But some of his strengths, I think, are exactly what they're looking for from the cornerback position moving forward.
Heckman?
No, I mean that's just where it is with J. Lou. I mean, there's so much to be desired from our secondary period. Defensive line-wise, I mean, if we could get more push and more pressure, that would sure make the job a lot easier on our corners as well. It's just a lot of these guys have just been the usual suspects behind some of these big plays that you see. And so, I mean, we give terms all the time like ball hawk, but if you're not a ball hawk, then let's just move on from the title and call you what you are. You know, you're a reserve fill-in guy. And we need, for this young defense, we need guys that are ball hawks and guys that want to make plays, and we haven't been getting it. So I don't want to say, well, you did good in the past, but you're not doing it. You know, look, man, you're only as good as your last hit, brother.
That was harsh.
No, it wasn't. I thought that was nice.
It's the season of giving, Heckma.
It is.
Is that why Isaiah is so quiet and reserved today? Are you just in the Christmas spirit already?
He's not.
You know, it's another week. It's another opportunity. You know, I'm renewed. I'm refreshed. I had opportunity to simmer down from the last weweek's, the week game before. Comments, the post game comments. I had opportunity to woosah, woosah, and I'm good now.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh man.
God.
Okay, well, we're going to
go to break. How do we skip over to linebackers?
Well, there's just a couple of them. We might get to them here in a minute. I'm going to finish this up. I got to take a break. Got to take a break. When we come back, we'll hit the last 2 secondary guys. We'll probably do the linebackers tomorrow on Fans on the 50 at some point tomorrow. So when we come back here on Talkin Cowboys, Xavier Woods, Chido Awuzie, we haven't addressed them. Move on or groove on when we come back right after this.
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay. Let's play. Cream Soda and Dr. Pepper time. Pour it in a glass of ice.
Music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Dear, it's 1908. Don't you think we should get electricity?
And stop using candles to see at night.
It's just electricity lights up the room fast. It's more reliable than candles blowing out, and people seem to love it nationwide.
Well, candles are...
Dear, did you just run into the wall?
Nope. May I have a new candle, please?
Historically, switching to new technology is a no-brainer. Today, it's AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure, and nationwide. Switch to AT&T 5G. It's not complicated. 5G requires compatible plan. May not be in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Final segment here of Talking Cowboys. The crew's back at it again. Heckman Harrison, Rob Phillips, Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Each of these three guys, so glad to have them back here on Talking Cowboys. Each of them, in their own rights, are cornerstones to this show. And I know they all bring the fire whenever it comes to everything, every effort, every piece of. Yeah, they're all cornerstones. What?
Damn it.
What, Isaiah? What? What do you want?
Your vocabulary today. I mean, I
just
haven't heard you use that term before.
The cornerstone?
That is new.
It's a good term. Yeah. I like it. It's usually spot on when I say it that way. I'm surprised you're upset about it. I wonder why. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so with that being said, let's move on to the secondary and just talk about the secondary and not talk about the linebackers that could potentially not be on this team in 2021. So let's go to Xavier Woods. Heckman, you brought him up earlier, so I'm going to have you start it as well. But you talked about it whenever you went back and looked at the film. Xavier Woods stuck out as a big negative in terms of being just one of those neutral players that you needed to have something from.
Yeah, I'm moving on quick. We're going to go ahead and we're going to call it a career here. If it were me, it's like if Heckman was the
playing GM.
right? So, playing GM. Yeah, we're moving on. I mean, it's just. Look, man, it's so many plays. Just missed tackles, bad coverage, not really breaking on balls well at all for a safety. I guess you want to blame it on the scheme a lot of times, and I'm sure that may have been a quarter of it. But, man, the majority of it is just missing assignments and missing tackles and just not being able to make a play on ball. So I'm moving on.
Rob?
Yeah, I think so. I think there are some things he does well, or we've seen do well recently. He'll come up in the box and he'll make some tackles and be physical that way. But I think we've talked about safety all year long, and I think Diamond Wilson has showed them something. I think in a rotation at the other spot. But to me, that's going to be a spot in the draft where you look at and say, can we find somebody that can really be a difference at one of those two spots, be a difference maker, be a guy that can, affect things matchup wise and maybe play linebacker a little bit, do those kind of things. So they haven't had that, and maybe that's something they got to find in the offseason.
Isaiah?
I'm going with the X on Xavier. We got to get him up out of here. I like his effort, man. One thing you always going to get from Xavier is effort, right?
Every play.
Even when he says that every play. You got to move on, man. That's a position that we've been talking about for a very long time. I think that you need to obviously get some young guys and develop them. Reggie Robinson, haven't seen him. But then you also got to get a proven veteran in there, to kind of be, the big dog back there to kind of lead these guys and show them the way, like the Mandalorian. So I think that they need that going into this offseason. But as far as Xavier Woods, I think his first initial kind of gives us everything we need.
You have something to add to that, Heckman?
Mandalorian. I love it.
He got the Mandalorian. He's brought out Erykah Badu. We call him Tyrone. I mean, this guy's good. The floor is yours, Isaiah. I got nothing, man. You got it, dog.
I've never met somebody that's so quick and witty with his random references as Isaiah is on not only this show, but that's the thing. Like, for all of you listening, like, you might think he only has these ready for the show where it's the JanSport backpack and it's the Mandalorian and it's life. No, this is how he talks on a normal basis. Like, we're just walking down the hall to go get coffee and it's like, oh, Isaiah just came up with a super witty reference. I just wanted to throw that out there. it's fantastic, and that's one of the reasons why we love you.
No, it's true. His head is full of sayings from 90s sitcoms. Like
no, seriously, you remind me of my friends growing up. Where like we talk in movie quotes, basically.
Yes.
Like we're quoting like Adam Sandler movies and stuff. Like that's what we still do to this day. I love it.
Okay, final guy, move on or groove on today, and then we'll wrap things up here on Talking Cowboys. But Chido Awuzie, I'm grooving on with Chido, and I know that he's had injuries throughout the year, and it's kind of tough, and I know there's probably a lot that plays into that, Isaiah, but ultimately, this is still somebody I want to see with Trayvon Diggs in the future, and I want to have that back and forth. You can go out and draft another corner, and I actually advise going out and drafting another corner, but I still want Chido to be a part of the puzzle.
I'm gonna go ahead and ride on it. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna bend the block. I'm gonna roll with him. Simply because I think we can get him for a good price. If we got him right now for a good price, I think he's a competitor. He's had his injuries, but who hasn't on this team already? And I think he's a really good competitor. I don't think anybody's ever questioned his effort. I don't think anybody's ever questioned any aspect of what he does. Simply aside from the fact that he just has to continue to get better, but as everybody else does. So I'm gonna ride with him. I'm gonna let him go ahead and compete. I'm thinking he's probably the only guy that you're probably sound with, aside from developing Diggs. That's the only guy that you feel good about. When he's out there, you feel a lot better. When you have Jordan Lewis, or when you have any of these other guys out there, you don't feel as secure. Right? I think that's a testament, regardless of how bad your team is. He's still one of the 100 defensive backs in this league, right? So you got to respect him somehow. But yeah, I'm riding with him.
Heckman?
I'm moving. Yeah, I'm moving. I'm moving on. And I think, really just for him, I think he's a guy that may benefit from a fresh start, somewhere else. I mean, I hadn't seen it. I don't think we're ever going to get it. And it's like wishing for something that it's just not going to happen. I'm not going to get myself in trouble with Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy again. But what I want to say is that we could do better. We could do better in free agency with another guy. I just don't think that he's going to be a part of our plans in the future.
I would have said before this season. Go ahead, Isaiah.
No, I was going to say Heckman did not get a peppermint on his desk today, because I can tell he's a little angry at some of these guys.
He's ready.
Didn't have the apple. He didn't have the Honeycrisp apple.
He did not get the Honeycrisp.
No smelly stickers for that.
I'm grooving, I guess. I would have said before the season, probably no, just because the market could turn out to where it's just not something you'd want to spend the money to re-sign. Mm-hmm. But he's been out for half the year, most of the year. So, there may be a way financially to bring him back. And I kind of think Xavier's the same boat. Like, I just think, depending on what's out there, to bring guys back and compete for a spot in a rotation, I think that makes sense. But as far as like cornerstones go, I think when you're talking about both these positions, Cowboys need to be looking in the draft and looking in the free agency to kind of see, how can we get better? How can we create more competition at these two positions? Because, for most of the year, it just hasn't been there productivity-wise.
It's been that way for the last couple years, if we're being honest.
There's that word again.
Yeah, cornerstone. Well, that's going to do it here for Talking Cowboys. We're going to end it on that note from Isaiah in the bottom left-hand corner, just smirking his way into the final couple seconds of the show. But like we just talked about, I mean, whenever it comes to the secondary, there's question marks like there has been in the past, and it's going to continue to be that way. The next couple weeks in the last 7 games of the year is going to tell a whole lot on how this team is going to look heading into 2021, and there's a lot of tryouts being had for the rest of the year, and players going to have to step it up and continue playing better like we've seen over the last couple of weeks. But that's going to do it for us. For Chris Beam in the back, for Heckman Harrison, for Rob Phillips, for Isaiah Stanback, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad to have you back here after the bye week. We'll be back tomorrow, 9:30. It's Fans on the 50 Tuesday. We'll see you then here on Talking Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.